Okay, gang, I think we have a ton to cover, so we want to jump in. Welcome all again to Build with Nova. Let's kick it off.
Our 12th one year anniversary. It's been really great to connect with folks and just see how much engagement and how much traction this series has gotten over the last year. When we first kind of started it, we weren't sure what it was going to look like, but a year in now, it feels like something we're always going to be doing. And this month in March, we're going to really be showcasing pilot and fleet tracking. In fact, we're showcasing a lot. We're showcasing real-time hotspots in Orthos, rapid mode in app, some new settings pages. But the big one that's really been worked on over the last month and that we really tried to time for this Build with Nova webinar is pilot and fleet tracking.
Yeah.
So get into it here. What is Build with Nova? So guys, we've been doing this for a year, and one of the really great things about Build with Nova is it's really created kind of this funnel for feedback to come in. We have so many people using the app today. We have so many folks in mission critical situations where having a software platform that really meets the moment and meets the need is really important to us. And it's one thing for us to conceptualize some ideas, build them in a vacuum, and then launch them. But what we found with this Build with Nova webinar series is it's just added so much strength to everything we're doing, start to finish, in terms of what products end up looking like. Now, that's not to say that there's still not some work once they land, but for the most part, it's just been a total force multiplier in terms of what we've been able to create and how fast and the impact it has.
And your feedback from this team is incredible, right? This really does influence, and it says there down, influence is what we do and how we shape our products. So, Rachel's going to be putting out a feedback form at the end of this. Please do take the time. We read every comment. We take every piece of feedback. We put it into our feedback request channel, into our bugs channel. And so do take the time to kind of jump in there. We're also going to be putting out some requests for people that want one-on-one sessions for the beta access for real-time orthos and hotspots. So make sure you add your name to that at the end as well.
Yeah, excellent. Let's jump into it. So this is about 45 to 60 minutes, last Tuesday of every month. We also record these and post these on our YouTube channel. So if you miss it or you know somebody that really wanted to make it, we do post it typically about a week out after we've done it. I'm Rob. I'm co-founder and CEO here at Nova, and Dan's our director of business development. High probability, if you're in this call, you've worked with one of us at some point, but if we haven't met you before, really excited to have you along. Okay, so what are we talking about today, Dan?
Yeah, Rob kind of gave the spark notes. Let's jump into it. So we have new settings page and user profiles that have gone into apps. We just want to make sure that we do cover that, show you exactly where everything is in our new settings page. Should be a huge user experience upgrade. And of course, user profiles, the ability to add headshots, put some more information, so that way you and your team have a stronger presence within the app. Moving beyond that, we have officially launched Rapid Mode and Stitch for orthomosaics and hotspots. It has been nothing short of incredible. We got it into the app midweek last week, talking about it in demos with potential new clients, talking about it with existing clients. We had an incredible experience this morning with a client in North Carolina with a fire data set that didn't work due to some stitching and overlap issues, but in our new Rapid Mode it did. So I'll kind of wait and tease that out a bit. Real-time hotspot in Orthos is also now in the app for the DJI Enterprise series. We were working this morning with LA County, walking them through how to use it. And I know that Alabama was even running some tests this morning. So really big request here. We'll kind of cover it briefly, but if you want a one-on-one with myself, Rob, or Jake to kind of walk through what that workflow is, please reach out. We want to get your feedback immediately.
Yeah.
And the big thing today, pilot and fleet tracking. So we're going to be spending quite a bit of time on that right out of the gate.
Yeah, really exciting. Thanks, Dan. Jumping into it. So what are we working on today and what's coming? We have pilot and fleet tracking. Like I said, this is an all hands on deck for mid-April release. It's really been all hands on deck for like the last 3 months. It's a really complex, there's a lot of moving pieces, things that affect other parts of it. So we've really just been really focused, heads down on that. We were trying to get it into production by the end of March. We need another 2 weeks, which is just the way these things go sometimes.
Not for lack of effort. The team was here till 10 p.m. last night, continue to work on it. They are putting in overtime, but we want to just make some fine tweaking prior to our beta release mid-April. And then we're going to take it back to you to say, hey, how do we improve this and make this better over time?
Yeah, so by this time next month, we're actually going to have, a little bit more to show on pilot and fleet tracking. Also, by this time next month, we'll be looking at Skydio live stream. This is a long time coming. We have live stream in our platform for just about every,
platform.
Yeah, just about every drone platform on the market except for Skydio Livestream. There's some nuances with it. There's some different processes that we have to take, but that is being worked on today. And then finally, we're looking at a new way to visualize our project. So right now we have this kind of classic project and folder structure to navigate to where your fires are. But what we should start seeing probably sometime early May is a new project overview that shows us all of those projects, not just through folders, but also on a map. So you can quickly look at your region. You can see where all of your active projects are.
Active live streams, active drones. It's going to be really this kind of global view of your region and your UAS operations. It's going to be really
it's super badass. So really excited to kind of see that come out. But to just start here, Dan, why don't
Yeah. So we're going to cover this in app briefly, closer to the end today, but this is our new settings page. This is the screenshot, and you can see our new profile page. So we've got headshots, better UX with the various kind of things that you can adjust within your workspace as it relates to contact lists and integrations and live stream links, and update your personal profile. So the hope is today when you guys jump off, you jump in, add your headshot, and make some updates to this and get your team on board as well.
Yeah. And then we have rapid mode. So rapid, this is really bringing the speed of ortho and hotspot processing down from anywhere from 10 to 100 times. It's incredibly fast. We're going to show a demo of this in the app shortly, but it doesn't just extend kind of, and we'll get to it on the next slide with Stitch and the processing engine, but this just doesn't extend to the speed at which we're building these things. It also really relates to how we're collecting data, because what's really great about this is we can actually reduce our overlap from our recommended current 80 to 80 to something much lower.
Yep.
I'm not going to toss in a number in case anybody holds me to it, but the idea is that we can really speed up that data collection process across the board.
Mm-hmm. And this is really built on Stitch, right? This is this engine that's been in development for over 2 years. Rob's already said 10 to 100 times faster, and we mean it. I've been showing this in demos where I grab a data set that would normally take 10 to 15 minutes, and it uploads and processes in under a minute. Flying faster, right? This is that overlap thing. Different challenging photo sets, right? This is what we saw this morning in North Carolina on a fire. And I think really cool this coming soon is this collaborative orthomosaic. So for those that kind of know the way photogrammetry systems work is, photos get added in, they kind of get bulk uploaded, then they get processed and there's an output. But there's no way to kind of add new photos or data sets to that existing ortho without reprocessing the entire thing. Stitch is built different. It says there it's a living file, where actually over large areas, and let's take the Texas flooding that happened last year. Right? Humongous area. I think we were talking with some guys from DPS the other day. They were tasked with mapping something like 40 river miles, right? That could actually all be built into a single orthomosaic with Stitch. And so that's going to be coming soon. So keep an eye out on that.
Yeah, it's incredible. You can have multiple pilots collecting data different ways, whether that's uploading from the desktop into the web app or collecting those photos live. They all come into the same place and you end up in a really great spot with it. So we'll show that later today. And then we're also, we have real-time hotspots and Orthos beta access. This is live available in the platform. I know we've been talking about this for months, but you can now start using it. I know Dan was working with the folks in LA County this morning, and I think in Alabama as well. And I was talking to some guys from CAL FIRE about it yesterday. So this is just starting to kind of get up and go. And we really recommend, if you guys are interested in trying to use this, reach out, talk to myself, Dan, Jacob, and we can really get you set up.
Yeah, and to kind of give you just a quick high level, right? Just a quick reminder, everybody, this is only available for DJI Enterprise series. So that's kind of the M3 series and up, 30T, 400, 4T. Now, for those that are familiar with our live stream solution, you would typically go into Nova, you'd create a layer and get a code, and then there's a URL that you put into your DJI controller. We actually have a brand new URL, so go into a project to kind of get that URL for the first time, load that in, and now not only can you do real-time hotspots and orthos, but you can start these sessions and these live streams from the controller itself. Right, we were just talking to Ethan in Alabama. He knew our old live streaming solution. He got his new one. He said, hey, this is badass. This took me a second to figure out, but now that I know it, I can get my controller out of my box. I can start a stream and begin flying without having to do anything on a computer or tablet.
And what's incredibly powerful is exactly what Dan just talked about, is this idea that when we show up to scene and things are unfolding quickly, we want to build an ortho, if we want to do a hotspot layer, or we want to start a live stream, we don't have to open our laptop. We can do it all from the controller. Meaning all you need is that drone, and then when you're done and you have time later in the day, you can pop open that laptop, see the orthos you've built, see the hotspots that have been created. It's really, really seamless. We're incredibly proud of the work. It's been a journey. Yeah,
Yeah,
been a
about
journey.
9 months to make.
Yeah. And then finally the big one.
Yeah, flight tracking. We don't need to cover this in detail here because we're going to jump into the app, but we're going to cover flight logging today. We're going to cover how you add drones and fleet management, how checklists interact with your flights, exporting reports, and creating kind of these maintenance workflows for your platforms.
Yeah.
So let's jump in. Guys, we're going to be jumping into our preview environment. So do know, right, we're not launching this out for another 3 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks. And so there might be some things here that jump in and out, but we want to show you how much work the team has done because it's incredible today.
So I'm going to start on this flights page, but I'm going to let Dan take it because we're going to talk about all of the different ways we can get flight data from into Nova from your drone.
Yeah, so we really wanted to build a system that worked across all platforms and being able to leverage different tech stacks, right? So I'm going to cover, there's 4 ways that you can actually bring your flight data and your flight logs into Nova. So the first is actually going to be through our Aircast app. So this is that downloadable app onto your drone's controller. And because we download this app, we actually have access or can gain access to your device's local storage where all of your flight logs are saved from that specific drone, right? In the Aircast app, the workflow would be you'd sign in, you'd kind of create, or you'd sign in, your user profile is connected, and then we can sync those flights through the Aircast app back to Nova. So that's option 1. Option 2 is Cloud Sync. So this is going to be available for DJI, Autel, and Skydio. A few different ways that each of those do it. So once we launch this, please come to us. We'd love to work with you to set it up for your specific drone. The third way is a manual upload. So if you have a group download of flight logs, you can actually bulk upload those in as a group, as you can see here. And then the last way is actually just creating a single flight, right? Create a flight, select a point on your map of where that flight occurred, tag a drone, tag a checklist, fill out the information that you need, and you can have that within the platform. So for those agencies that are running various types of platforms, you know, we think that this should be able to cover you. That's for sure, across your different platforms. So please, once we launch this, connect with the team so we can work with you from an integration standpoint to say how best will our pilot tracking integrate with your specific platforms and fleet.
And one of the things here is we're going to be showing a lot of cool things, and hopefully it looks relatively polished, but when rubber meets the road, things are going to change, and we're going to realize that we weren't able to scope everything in. So when you start using this, when you're getting frustrated, when you're like, I can't do this thing that I really need, just reach out. Like, we're going to be Johnny on the spot to make sure that all of this gets updated and meets those requirements really quickly. I'm going to start off by saying here that as we're looking at this flights page, I'm not actually quite the jet setter that it looks like I am. In fact, this is just sample data that we pulled in, but this is all otherwise, you know, could be real. And I can start by opening this up. I can see all of the different flights across my workspace, whether that's in Rajasthan, India, or New South Wales, Australia. I can jump into these individual flights so I can check this out. And again, we populated this with sample data, and I think I might have to refresh here really quickly. Sorry, guys. Just a real quick refresh. So I'll jump back into flights here. Here it is. So we get our flight path. Again, this is automatically generated. I'm not great on the controls, but I like to think I'm a little bit better than that. But we can see who the pilot in command was. We can see which drone they were flying, when it took off, you know, the overall battery usage, where it was, takeoff location. We can see a relative telemetry kind of rating based on all the other flights in our workspace. We can add notes. We can also add tags here, which is pretty cool. So, you know, if this is a kind of a standard job that we've been working on over the time, and then we can link this layer back to actual jobs within the platform. So let's say I created an orthomosaic with this flight. I can link this flight back to that orthomosaic, or back to that live stream, or back to that hotspot job, or back to that color finder job. There's really this ability to kind of pull all of our data into one place and have it all relate to itself. So I can return here. It obviously gives us a little bit of an overview of all the flights that we have in our workspace. We can see the status of our checklists when we have them grouped like this. You can see that there's 1 out of 20 missing. And then down here for this flight for Dan's Autel, we have a single one missing. Next up, I can jump into our pilots page here. So I'm just going to jump here and we can see all of our pilots across our workspace. This is a very recent photo of me from circa 2011 when I was a firefighter. But we can quickly see all of our pilots in our workspace, and I can jump in here and kind of see a little bit about my profile. So here I can see all of my flight activity over the last 30 days, 6 months, or 1 year. I can also get this little status and graph bar down here so we can see how often I'm flying and how that relates to the last period. We also have this little leaderboard thing here where we can see where you sit in your workspace. So I think we have 3, gold, silver, and bronze.
Yeah.
So if you're one of the leaders in your workspace, you can see that really nicely.
And one thing I've learned about our clients is that they're uber competitive.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of a fun thing, right? Where we know that pilot and fleet tracking might not be the sexiest thing for you as an administrator to work with. But I'm hoping that you can see here that through design and through this gamification, we're trying to make it more enjoyable, not just for you, but also for your pilots.
Yeah, it's a huge part of it, right? Like, how do we make this like necessary part of running a drone program not so horrible? And so we've really like focused a lot on, kind of gamifying it a little bit and really focusing on the visuals to make it both clear, but also slightly more enjoyable than it has been in the past. Down here, we can see all of my platform time and my aircraft hours. This is a relative measurement, so I can see, how often I've used that Maturice 30T relative to all of the other platforms. Then I can also upload certifications. So if I've got my Part 107 certificate, or I've got, my advanced certificate in Canada, we can upload those. We can set timers on them. We can set check-ins. So you can make sure everybody's up to date across the workspace. Okay, pilots. Let's get into it. Give it a second to load here. Okay, so this is our drones overview. And what we can look at here is there's a number of different ways these can come in as well. If you automatically sync or drop some flight logs in, it will create a new profile for that drone. Or you can manually add it up here by going drone, kind of selecting the name of it, the manufacturer, we have a lot in here, and then the model. So across the board here, we see all of our different drones. We can see, this one, it says there's maintenance due on it. We'll jump into that in just a moment. But if I click into it, I can then see, total flights, total distance flown, kind of the average flight time. I can see when it was last flown, daily use in March. And I can also see who the most active pilots are on this platform. And I can get a good sense of how many hours they've spent flying it. Again, we can add notes down here and any files like manufacturer guidance, that type of thing. Should we pause for a second? Does anyone have any questions, or should we get through this?
I did post in the chat to throw some questions in here. Perfect. If they come up and you don't want to forget. And I think what we'll do is we'll just take a quick pause after we get through checklists and reports, because we've got a few other things here.
Okay.
But yeah, feel free to throw them in here, guys, and I'll pause and answer them as we see them come in.
Okay, amazing. Next up is checklists. So checklist is something actually we ran through, and we had an idea, but it was really validated, I think, back in our build with Nova back in January, where we were like, hey, we have this idea for an AI checklist builder. Is anyone interested in it? And it turns out a lot of people were interested in it, which is really exciting. So we're going to show how that works here. So down on my checklist page, first thing I can see, we don't have the capacity to change the names of the checklists quite yet, but by the time this reaches production, we will. That's why we see 3 untitled checklists. But we can see how many questions are on those checklists, how many submissions for that checklist. And let me show you how easy this is to build.
And there we go.
There we go. Okay, I'm going to start with AI.
Yeah, and I'm going to tee Rob up here. We just had Manny Musquez of Laramie County throw his name in, and departments, why don't we create this checklist for Manny in the Laramie area? Okay, so we're going to say, let's say, that's a great idea, Dan. Let's go build, one sec. Build me a Part 107 certificate, Part 107 compliant pre-flight checklist for Laramie County accounting for airspace in the area. Maybe just specify Wyoming. I think there's a few,
right. That's true.
A few Laramie counties. You could add other things in here. right, gang? Like, hey, 4 specific fire operations for search and rescue. And then we have some keywords down below that actually allow you to say, hey, like which regulation, which operation, and that sort of thing.
So once this is done, I go generate checklist. I think it takes about 10 to 15 seconds, but once we're through this, we should have a complete new checklist for Manny. Let's see if this works.
It worked this morning a few times. There we go. Okay.
Sweet. So it automatically generates this new checklist for us. Again, we'll be able to change the name. But it makes sure that Manny, maybe you want to just verify that FB warrant AFB is something that you're occasionally concerned about. But we can make sure that it kind of grabs all of the information that we need to see across our area. It generates the report. We have the ability to, very smart integration. Heck yeah, Cole. So we can change this from text input to multiple answers, multiple choice, and headers. So
yeah, you can adjust this, edit it as you see fit. Of course, as we all know, AI can, really get you 90, 95% of the way, but you have to make some, fine tune and tweaks. Another kind of cool idea that Rob and I were, riffing on this morning was a lot of you probably have existing checklists, right? Maybe those are in Docs, maybe those are as part of a Google form or part of a different platform. I think we should be able to also just copy that text and throw that into the generate checklist button within Nova to give you a starting spot. So you're not just complete one-to-one replicating it manually, right? So, transitioning you from your existing systems to Nova, this AI checklist, which I got to admit, it was not top of my priority. I was proven wrong several times, and I'm really excited that this is in. And Cole, you are continuing to prove me wrong with your comments. So thank you, man.
yeah, excellent.
Can I talk a little bit about checklists and how they connect to things?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so pre-flight checklists are obviously important, and we want to make it as seamless as possible for these checklists to auto-assign to pilots and flights. There's a few different ways that can happen. So one, we're going to have QR codes that actually show up on the Aircast app, as well as the on-controller kind of workflow with the DJI Enterprise series. This is going to be an anonymous submission. So what you can do is you can scan that QR code with your phone, open it up, fill in your checklist, select who the PIC is, select your VO and whomever else you need, and then that will automatically tag to flights that are within some logic. I think it's within a mile of where that checklist was submitted, and within 2 hours of when the flights actually occurred, something like that. So that way it's actually smart applying. We're also working on a way for you to save this checklist URL to your phone, right? I know a lot of people, you might have gone on Safari or Chrome and found a website, and you can save that as a little tab on your phone. So that way you can open that up, submit a checklist, input the information, and that will sync back. And the Aircast app in the future should also include a checklist form directly on the controller as well. I do want to stress that you can always create checklists after the fact. So if you weren't in service during this kind of operation, you can go in, you can have all your flight logs synced, you can create a checklist after, and then sync those and apply them to the existing flights that it matters. So numerous ways to get this back in. This was something we scoped out a ton. And, as Rob said earlier, we might have missed some things along the way. So look forward to you guys' feedback on kind of this checklist network effect that we built out.
Totally. Next up, reports. This includes, actually one of the big ones and one Dan championed was COA reports. So having automatic templates for COA reports. So I can jump up here, I can create a new template. And let's say we don't just want a flight report, we want a specific COA report. We can, let's go select date range, let's go over the last year. We can set this up so it automatically emails recipients. So, I can type in Dan's email here. Oh.com.
Slash.
Yeah, a little slash there.
It'll get you. There we go.
Perfect. Okay, so we've got this. I can set up how often I want these COA reports emailed out. And then we can set up what that COA report looks like and what it filters. So, we can select different people. If we don't want it to apply to everybody, we can select different drones. But let's say in this case, we want everybody and everything captured. I can jump down to format, select all labels. So all, and then I go create template. Now, just give this a second here. Now, what I can do now that it's been created is I can jump up here. I can go download as PDF, and takes just a couple seconds here. Oh, good question from Sam.
So, yeah, Sam, I'll read your question while Rob finishes up reports here. Yeah, Sam, really good question. So this is where the Aircast app is going to be really valuable, right? So you can download that Aircast app to your guys' drone controllers. And as long as the individual opens that app up and connects through Nova, logs in with their individual login, right? Then it'll be assigned to their user afterwards because we can create that logic between when was that Aircast app signed into by who and when that flight happened. Yeah, really good question. It obviously with your scenarios where drones are being shared, that's where the individual login within the app and having different user profiles is critical to you being able to do this automatically. Otherwise, you could always reassign them after the fact manually, but that's less ideal.
Less ideal. Okay, that report's generated, so we can see it now. This is now automatically going to send to Dan once a month with all of our all of the activity in our workspace and through our drone program, all here on one page. And then as I scroll down, we can see that it also connects it as a table. So it comes out once a month or however often you set it, and it's really designed just to make this core reporting process a little bit simpler, a little bit easier. One last thing as we jump down onto maintenance here, we can create maintenance templates. We can assign it to drones. You can say here, routine maintenance. Add description. We can choose which drones you want to apply it, all of them if we want, and then we can kind of set how often. So in this case, let's apply it to Tim's T50, and you can set what has to happen when these things go on, and I can go create template. Now, if I jump back to drones, because earlier we saw that this M30T needed some maintenance here. So I've got these three tabs here. I've got overview, which is what we looked at earlier. And I've also got this history and maintenance. So this maintenance is showing us that actually we've reached the end of its
Like threshold.
Light threshold. Thank you. And so we go add record and we can kind of add, that updated form to all of this. So I think that's
the big picture.
That's the big picture.
That was a ton. I do think we should take a quick pause, and if anybody wants, raise their hand at the very bottom, you can click raise hand, and we can kind of answer questions sequentially here, or do feel free to put them in the chat as well.
Oh yeah, we've also got this cool heat map thing here. So if I want to scroll, I think most of our flights happen in Europe and
Norway.
Yeah, there we go. So you get this cool little heat map in the platform. So if you want to kind of see the history where all of your flights are, it's kind of all there for you. And yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to move on if nobody has an immediate question, but we do have time at the end for Q&A. So please do think about what you kind of want to ask us by the end here.
Sweet.
Okay. Next up, rapid mode.
Rapid mode. Okay. Do you want to lead this?
Sure. Yeah, my pleasure. Rapid mode. So we've queued up a data set here. We've uploaded into the platform. And what we're going to see here now on the left is when you go to create an Ortho Mosaic or a Hotspots job, at the very bottom, we have different processing options. Okay, so we have general mode and urban, and which if you don't know the difference between those, you should check out the Just Ask Jake blog on our Learn Center and on our website. And we've actually just added rapid. Now there is a beta tag there, everybody, right? We're continuously making improvements to this. Even just last night, they increased the render quality. So now it's a better quality output than it was 3 days ago. So we're rapidly making improvements. And what we're going to do is we're going to click process here. We're going to get a little warning that says, hey, just so you know, this is beta. If you want something that's really high precision, we recommend using general or urban. And let me just touch on that quick. For anybody that's doing some sort of crash scene reconstruction, anything where you're looking for really fine edges in urban environments, I still recommend using our traditional method because rapid is fast, but we do lose a little bit of quality with straight edges, okay? So we're going to process this, and what you're going to see is that actually while this process, this is 200 photos, I think this would normally take, like I said, 10 to 15 minutes, we're actually seeing the Ortho Mosaic generate in real time.
I could just watch this all day, dude. I could watch this all day.
I can't really talk more than what this is showing, I think. Do you want to zoom in a little bit? Maybe toggle flight path off. So you can see geospatial accuracy incredibly high. Use those pawns in the top as kind of a reference form here. When we're talking about getting to a scene and getting a clear operational picture with, a data set of this size or even larger, you can imagine how valuable this is. You're not sitting around while IC's yelling at you for some sort of product, right? You can quite literally upload this, process it, and it will be ready almost immediately.
Yeah, it's kind of wild to be honest. And we're still going to see some artifacts. We're going to see some weirdness over the next few months, but we're really hoping that by mid-July, this is the only way we're processing orthos in the app, and it's hands down going to be the fastest ortho generation tool on the market without any loss in quality. We've seen fast ortho tools before, but that ability to create that high resolution, detailed output this quickly just is just not something that exists. So we're really incredibly excited about it.
Yeah.
And then kind of dovetailing on this, one of the things that this also allows us to do is it allows us to stitch photos with less overlap. And I'm actually going to pull up an example from North Carolina earlier today. I'm going to give a big shout out to Elizabeth Edwards, who did this flight on a prescribed burn. And what we see here is, I saw it come through on the logs and I kind of immediately jumped on. But what we see is, she couldn't fly higher than 400 feet and she had really like hilly and hummocky terrain here. And so when she processed that infrared data, what we ended up seeing is this really broken, if I turn on the flight path, obviously it looks like we should have enough overlap, but the end result is just kind of this broken, incomplete picture of the prescribed burn.
Mm-hmm.
So we jumped on, we said, hey, how can we make this better? And I suggested we try using rapid mode. And so rapid mode, using that exact same data set, ended up stitching that entire orthomosaic together and bringing us way more clarity into the heat profile on this fire. So it's not just, it's not just that it's faster, it's that actually our data collection capacity goes way up because the less overlap we need, the faster we're done and out of the field.
And there is absolutely nothing worse than going and collecting some massive data set and then it having some sort of stitching issue on the back end. And so, if you have time, throw it into rapid really quick. You can get that result back incredibly fast to kind of assess, hey, is this good enough for what we need? Rather than maybe starting with general out of the gate. Obviously, this depends a little bit on your bandwidth for upload, right? If you're like, hey, I actually need a high quality ortho guaranteed for success today, I would still recommend using general in this experience. But for something like this, where you're capped by altitude ceiling at 400 feet, there's a lot of hilly terrain. I might not have the quality of data that I need to make it happen. Throw it into rapid, and now they have a map of their fire that they otherwise wouldn't have had without doing another flight. Something that would have maybe taken an hour to fly, reprocess to be able to get this on the back end.
Totally. And this happens in no time flat, right? So you're not investing a huge amount of time to see if it works. So yeah, this is rapid mode, and I guess where we'll go from here
is we're gonna actually, can you go to the settings tab?
Yeah.
And we're gonna do a quick overview here.
I'm gonna get out of this workspace. I'm gonna jump into this is actually, we have a new workspace switcher. If you guys haven't seen it yet, this just came out.
You are all likely not a part of as many workspaces as Rob and I are, so hopefully that list's a little easier to navigate. So first and foremost, on the left-hand side, we added in this global nav, and Rob did talk about it, where we have just now the home button and the folders, right? This is where we're going to be adding our pilot and fleet tracking to, as well as that kind of project overview, that globe, okay? Now at the bottom, we do have a settings tab here. Should be a little bit more, it's easier for you to manage. So first off, this profile. Highly recommend all of you jump in, add your own picture, so that way when you're actually in a project, you can see the person and know exactly who it is without having to hover over and see the name. Make sure that your name is accurate, add your phone number, the organization that you're a part of, your title, so that way for these larger agencies, everybody has a good idea of who's actually a part of this. And really importantly, in your preferences, make sure that your default workspace is set to whichever workspace you want to end up in, right? As a lot of you know, when you create an account in Nova, we create a workspace for you by default because we need to put you into somewhere, right? What happens is that you end up having two workspaces, your personal and your organization. And I've seen it countless times. People accidentally process data into the wrong workspace. They're wondering why their teams can't see it because you're not in the org. Go into your preferences, select your default workspace to make sure that, what's your default workspace?
Actually, I haven't said it, Dan. It's kind of embarrassing.
It's kind of embarrassing.
This right now.
Yeah. So set your default workspace to the workspace you want to come in at every given time, and you can save changes. I don't need to cover password. That's pretty basic. We have a new users page. This was the existing collaborators page. Very similar. You can see everybody that has access to your workspace, what licenses they have, and their permissions. Contact lists. Okay, for those that are using our live stream tool, this is really important for you to add your contact list here. Okay, so when you go to create a live stream, it's going to give you the option to share that stream with certain people. This contact list is your gateway to that. You can add phone numbers and you can add emails to this listening. And what I would do is, depending on who you're sharing these URLs with and these stream links, create different contact lists for those different groups. So that way you can quick select from the controller now, right, through Aircast or through the DJI controller, exactly who you want to share that with. Configuration, we haven't changed anything here. These are your base workspace settings. Our integrations tab is the same. We have our Esri AGOL integration and our TAC, but we have moved the live stream link, right? So this is your multi-stream URL. This is the gateway to any stream that is active in your workspace. If you are using any sort of common operating picture outside of Nova for managing incidents, I'm talking tablet command, first do, Intera, ArcGIS Online, and you have a spot that you can embed that stream link in for quick viewing by your BCs and your incident commanders, grab this stream link, toss it into there by copying that URL. Once you create that contact list, you can also quickly share that URL to everybody within the agency. I recommend saving that URL to a bookmark in your browser, or if it's on your phone, saving it to, a little app, right? And I think that's pretty simple. You click share, you scroll down and you say add to homepage if you're on an iPhone. Android users, I'm sorry, I'm not proficient, but I'm sure there's a similar method. And sorry.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say Dan's being really emphatic and explicit about how to do this. I think also there's something here where as a team we have to surface this more easily within the app. So we're gonna work on that. Hopefully over the next month we'll find some time to fit it in, because it is buried within the settings page, within the tab, within the settings page, where really we want this available anytime you start a stream.
Yeah.
So we're going to work on that from a design standpoint.
Yeah, and my preference really is, I tell clients, if you're comfortable with your multi-stream link, that's the link you should be sharing with your team, because no matter which live stream you're starting from any project, they're getting a stream. There's no, expired links associated with this.
Yeah.
Last but not least, for administrators that are managing licenses and subscriptions, we've added a new license administration page, which is much simpler. You can see who in your workspace, what licenses you've administered. So this is Rob, and then any unassigned licenses down below as well. I did want to touch on, Caden had a question about real-time flight tracking, utilizing the app on the controller and the ability to see other drones' location and elevation that are logged in with Nova. I'm so glad you asked.
Great question.
About it?
Yeah. So we're talking about, while we're flying, having the telemetry data stream into Nova. So Caden, this is actually something that already exists. So if you have multiple drone operators across the platform, and I actually wish I had a drone to turn on and show you this right now, but if we have multiple drones across the platform, we actually see those populate in the side panel here. So if we start a live stream, or if we have multiple folks live streaming in the platform, we'll see all of those videos right here and the location of those drones on the landscape. I can drag them out, I can make them bigger, and I can get a lot of information really quickly about who's doing what.
And Caden, our project overview page that we talked about earlier, where you kind of see this global view of all of your projects, that's also going to be the hub for you to see any active drones in the space, right? So if you do have drones that are flying across different projects, you'll be able to actually see it in a central location. And we're working on ingesting ADS-B data into that, airspace considerations, so you can actually see aircraft with different altitudes as well across that.
Yeah, and also probably we'll get some layers for airspace, the broad vector data for airspaces, so we can see where other things are and where we should and should not be flying. So yeah, great question. Okay,
sweet. Let's move on. We're gonna head back to the slide deck, everybody.
Ooh, Manny asks, does live stream work with Autel now as well? Heck yeah, it does, Manny. I've got an Autel in the office. I can show you later if you want to see it.
Yeah, Manny, should be an email, sir, and I'll connect you with Jake or myself, and we can get you set up with the Aircast app and walk you through that.
Okay, where are we at? We're
back to there. Yep.
Back to this one. Back to this one.
There we go.
Okay. Next big one here, we have our roadmap coming up. What does this look like for April? This is pilot and fleet tracking, getting across the line. Really important, we are going to be doing as many one-on-one onboardings for pilot and fleet tracking towards the end of the month as we can fit in. So if you're interested, we can help you bring on one of your drones. We can help you bring on all of your drones, and we'll make sure that it's set up and you're set up for success, provided that you give us some feedback on how you'd like to see it get better. because we're going to be learning a lot once it does land. And then finally, Skydio live stream. This has been on the docket for a long time. I mentioned earlier, but that should be out by the end of April. We're really excited about it. And once that's in, there's really no limits on our live stream anymore. I'll work with every single drone that can possibly support a live stream. Late April, we have a bit of a bug sprint scheduled. So if you're seeing any inconsistencies in the app, if you're seeing anything that looks maybe a little bit weird, seeing some artifacts pop up on the screen or buttons not work the way that you want them to, please let us know, because we're going to be really tackling that and really just kind of adding a layer of polish before we go into the summer.
Please do send them to help at. For those that have emailed that in the last week, we've just set up our new help desk. The faces behind your support are the same, but it helps us organize it a little bit more. It also helps us keep track of these things, right? Where we're actually creating tickets for the bugs that you're submitting. So that way you're kept up to date on us fixing these things and when that ticket actually closes. So, feel free, CC me, CC Rob, but tag help at MapNova so we can actually document some of these things. And the cool part about it is we can actually take all these, questions that you're asking, and we can start to use AI and some other tools to really broaden our learn center and build pages and information and FAQs based off exactly what you guys are struggling with. So quick plug for the help at email.
Totally.
Please do leverage that.
Okay. And probably we'll showcase this in our next Build with Nova with the new global project view, which hopefully will be coming out sometime in May. So we'll kind of go over that next time. So stay tuned. And then Stitch version 2, where hopefully, and really this is going to happen it's going to happen iteratively over the next month and a half. So we should see some changes and improvements happen there. Busy travel schedule, Dan. We have 8 trips, not including the small jumps around that we're doing over the next 3 months. I'll let Dan talk.
We're all over here. We're going to be attending the Michigan Drone Association for the first time. It's an event that's been around for a few years and it's getting a ton of traction. So Aubrey and Larissa are headed there, and we actually have our first local conference just down the road from us, which is super nice. I don't have to get on a plane and take 3 flights. It's a nice change for us. So that's just down the road for anybody that's going to be coming to that, the Fire Smart Conference in Canada. In May, we're going to be heading to LEDA, the Law Enforcement Drone Association Conference. It's our first time at LEDA. I've been keeping tabs. Had a great call with one of their directors a few weeks ago. Really encouraged me to come and join. So Larissa and I will be heading to Utah. And at the same time, Aubrey and Liam will be heading down to San Diego to work the booth at California ESA's annual conference, or MCON, so the Emergency Managers Conference down there. A shout out to Zach Hamill with Sutter County for recommending that conference for us. And then June, the first 2 weeks are stacked. This is actually back-to-back weeks for all these conferences. I will be heading to the state agency conferences at Southern Group and Northeast Midwest Fire Soups alongside Rod and Larissa. And then the rest of the team is going to be supporting our efforts at the Southeastern Fire Chiefs annual meeting in Savannah, Georgia. And then we're going to be heading to Drone Responders North Carolina Summit as well. Drone Responders is growing. There's, I think, new state chapters have just been added in the last few weeks. Huge shout out to one of our clients as well, Matt with SAC Metro, who's a big part of growing the California Drone Responders group, I guess you could call it. I think it's CalGRU is what it's called. And so if you're in North Carolina, you're going to be at that summit, do let us know because we're going to have a team down there.
Yeah. And
we got a question. Yeah, I guess it's Q&A time. And I do have one more plug as well before we jump in. I'm going off script, but we've been kind of riffing on this idea to really make sure that our support is best for you, actually creating group chats between, your account executives who have worked with you from the beginning, as well as our customer success team. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my phone number into the messages here. And if you are interested in setting up a group chat between your organization, all of your pilots, as well as our team, to kind of have a central place to ask questions and have any one of us answer, please send me a text, right? For those that are running iPhones and your agency uses iPhones, we can keep it as an iMessage group. If you prefer, we can also set up a WhatsApp group. So maybe just mention that preference. And I'm going to do that here. And Jake and I will work to kind of set up those group chats between you, your account executive, as well as our customer success team.
You may have just doxed yourself, Dan, because I think we may be posting this on YouTube later. So we'll have to add some visual effects after. But otherwise, I think it's an amazing idea.
I don't actually think the chat shows up.
Oh, really? Oh, does it?
So don't worry, any questions you ask are not public to the
It
world.
would have been a disaster.
Okay, Rich, let's ask a question. I have a few questions on the live stream. I flew a protest on Saturday using the M4TD. Every time I had to come in and change the battery, the live stream video would end and not start back for the command post. On my controller, it would show the live stream was still going. I'd have to go back each time and start a new live stream. This is the first live streaming with the M4TD, and I haven't used the M30T with dual batteries lately to see if the live stream would continue since the drone did not lose power. Super good question, and you're spot on, right? As soon as that drone loses power, that individual live stream actually ends. So the best way to manage this, Richard, is actually using that static multi-stream link. And Rob, do you just mind pulling it back up here briefly? So everybody's workspace has this. In your settings tab, there's a live stream link. This stream link, and do you just mind opening it up and we can see, this is a static URL for your organization. Okay, so what I would do is I would share this URL with your command staff. That way, no matter how many different live streams you start and power down your drone, they are always seeing the most up-to-date stream. If you're running multiple drones at the same time, it's also going to show all of those different streams, and command can select which one they want to have as full screen.
And actually, a really great example of this was we were just working with Alabama Forestry this past month. We had Jacob and Aubrey down on scene for a big, I think it was a plane crash simulation.
Yeah, there was 800 attendees, a huge statewide event, simulating a plane crash.
Right. And so what they did was they took this QR code and they put it all over, sort of the don't want to call it a bandstand, but where the crowd was.
Yeah, QR codes, right, on pieces of paper.
Right. And so people all throughout the crowd were able to scan this QR code and see all of the active drone live streams throughout that exercise. I think we had the Alabama senator was there as well.
The governor.
The governor.
The governor was there watching a Nova live stream.
Yeah.
Which is
Heck
pretty
yeah,
cool.
dude.
And so, yeah, everybody just re-emphasizing this multi-stream link. And if you want a more kind of one-on-one walkthrough, please reach out. I'm happy to set up a time and kind of walk through this in a little bit more detail with myself or Jake.
And like I said, we have to surface this differently in the app. So we'll work on that. So next time, Rich, it won't be quite as good.
Rich, does that answer your question, sir? I'm gonna just give me a thumbs up or it sounds good.
Perfect.
Great, thank you. Any other questions from the audience? Okay. Well, once again, everybody, you will be receiving a link at the end here, just a quick kind of feedback form. We've got some fields in there around people that want specific access to things or want to try things and be on our beta testing. Please do fill that out. We put that into a list of contacts, and once these things are released, we emailed all those people and set it up. So please include that information. And until next time,
guys, thank you so much. We'll hang out for a couple minutes here. But yeah, this is awesome. I did run an 8 to 9 hour live stream using a standard live streaming option using an M30T and hot swapping batteries. So that's an option. If you like to share the mini map and have access to that aircraft, should work with an M400 as well.
It's actually really important. Thanks, Connor, for bringing that up. And so the one thing about the multi-stream link is that we don't have the drone's mini map. Okay, so if you are running it through a DJI Enterprise, we don't actually see the telemetry data of that platform. But I think Connor has the record for our concurrent live stream with the M30T, hot swapping batteries, and keep it going. If anybody has a bigger record, I know Connor's looking to stay top dog based on our conversation last week. So thanks, Connor, for bringing that up and pushing the live stream to the limit. I think you said the team back on base had no issues seeing it while they were streaming from a boat out in the middle of the sound or something like that.
Wow.
in Washington. Yeah.
Caden, thanks, man. Thanks for making the time.
Next slide. Oh yeah. Our finisher. There we go.
Ciao for now.